this video, I want to introduce you to some new Ryobi tools. They're part of the HP compact line, and there's lots to talk about here. But before I do, I just want to talk to you a bit about the Ryobi brand and how I came to know about it. I was a cabinet maker working in a shop in the mid-1980s, and that's when I first remember seeing Ryobi. I think they were brand new on the market then. What struck me at the time is the same thing that strikes me now, and that's this brand of tools delivers the best value for the dollar. There are more expensive tools that are kind of higher end, and there's certainly plenty of tools that cost maybe a little bit less than Ryobi and are quite a bit worse. So the Ryobi brand is kind of just a little bit above as cheap as it gets, but way higher than that in terms of quality. In fact, the quality is so high and the reliability is so good that I know professionals who use these. Even though they're designed for consumers, not all pros want to throw around a $400 drill on a construction site where it can fall off a ladder, get run over, or whatever. No drill is good enough to withstand that. So Ryobi is popular with consumers, surprisingly popular with professionals, and I think this HP compact line is just going to build the reputation of the brand. So what we've got here is a line of compact tools. They're fairly small. I'm going to be talking more about that. But, and this is the thing, they use the standard 1+ 18 volt electrics. So you get 18 volt power in a package that's surprisingly small. Because this is a smallish battery here, 1.5 amp hour. They get larger, and that translates into more runtime. But bottom line, very small, very powerful, completely interchangeable with all the regular 1+ batteries that are out there, and that have been out there for a long, long time too. Ryobi has consistently made a commitment to this battery platform, so you can get even tools that are very old. They can still take these batteries. So anyway, let's take a closer look at the individual tools now. So there are 6 tools in the HP compact line, and I think the 2 that are going to be of most interest would be the drill and the impact driver. They're both very small and light, exceptionally short. This is really important in an impact driver. It's very short from here to here. That makes it easier to drive screws, because the closer you are to the screw, the less likely you are to fumble and have the driver bit fall out of the screw. And it's also easier to just get into tight quarters with it. So same goes for the drill. I mean, this is exceptionally short for an 18 volt drill. I mean, it's just a smidge over 6 inches in total length. Fits in the pouch easily, and yet it's got the full 18 volt power. Now, related to this, you might find this kind of interesting. This is an impact driver, and this is what they call an impact wrench. They work the same way, except as you can see, this is designed to take a socket, 3/8 drive socket. So it's useful for tightening and loosening. Actually, loosening is more of a value, is of more value with an impact wrench. Because many times when you're working on machinery, if the fasteners are old, bolts and nuts and things, it can be hard to get them off with a regular wrench. But because of the rat-tat-tat action, so the high vibration action of an impact wrench, it will break that corrosion free much more easily than you can do with a wrench. So that's where I use impact wrenches most often. This next tool I want to show you is a right angle drill. Now, you're not going to use a drill like this all the time, because if you've got enough room, then this is actually easier to use. You can put more downward pressure on it and all that stuff. However, every once in a while you won't be able to get in to drill a hole where you want to, or to drive a screw, because this is a drill, but it can also drive screws too. So that's where the right angle design comes in. And boy, is it ever short in the right angle direction. I've never seen one this short. It's just the slightest little bit over 3.5 inches from here to here. You know, plus your driver length, of course, the driver bit or whatever drill bit you're using, but Ryobi can't control that, so they just make a really short tool. It's got a headlight on it. like I said, you're not going to use this all the time, but when you need it, you'll love it. 2-speed as well, so slower speed and higher speed. Nice little addition to the lineup. The next tool I want to tell you about in the HP line is this Reciprocating Saw. Once again, very small, but before I demonstrate it, I just want to point out something. Brushless. That's a feature of the HP line. But what does it mean? Well, traditionally, the motor inside a tool like this had brushes, which didn't look anything like brushes. They're blocks of carbon, spring-loaded, and they press up against the rotating part of the motor internally. And that's how you deliver electricity to a moving part of the motor. The brush sits on top of the rotating part of the motor, and eventually the brush will wear out. So that's one advantage of the brushless design. Another advantage is that it gets more work from a given charge of battery pack. So it's just more efficient. That's the bottom line. So you're going to see brushless motor technology all over the place. In fact, I would think, a great many tools now are brushless. Cordless tools are brushless. We're starting to see it on the more economical consumer side of things, and that's certainly what we see here too. But a reciprocating saw, to be as useful as possible, needs to do more than just move the blade back and forth in a straight line. It actually should move the blade in a kind of a bit of a D-shaped pattern, like this. And the reason for that is it will make the cut much more aggressive. Now look at this. Watch the blade in relation to this foot here, and you'll see some of that D-shaped pattern. This isn't just straight up and down here. You see that? That helps to make for a more aggressive cut with a reciprocating saw. And that's really what you want. Reciprocating saws are coarse tools. They're typically used for renovation work, cutting through wood, pipes, screws, nails, stuff like that. So we really don't care about smoothness with a reciprocating saw, just speed. And just let me show you how this works on a pretty thick spike, actually. It's going to go right through it, I expect. So, lots of power, lots of cutting capability, even in metal this thick. I think maybe one of the most innovative tools in the HP line is this little saw here. I've never seen or used a tool quite like this, but I can see where it's of value. It's a small bladed saw. It's actually very controllable. Look how slow I can make it go. And how fast. I can also change direction too. It's rotating this way now, because sometimes you'll want it that way. Maybe if you're cutting forward, you'd want it this way, but sometimes you want to cut backwards. So you always need to cut against the rotation of the blade that you're using. So this particular blade is for metal. I'm going to show you how it works in a second, but there's also a blade for tile. This would be a diamond blade, a small industrial diamonds set into the perimeter of that blade. And then this is an abrasive blade for drywall and plastic, it says. So let's go over and see how this thing does on some pretty thick steel. Quick work, 1/4 inch thick, cold rolled steel right there, no problem. Just before I finish up, I want to mention that Ryobi tools are available exclusively at Home Depot. That's been that way for a long time now. I remember when the two got together, and it's a handy thing for you because there's lots of Home Depots around, so there's no problem finding, buying, warranty coverage, stuff like that. In terms of warranties, all these tools and the batteries have a 3-year warranty. So keep your bill. You're going to want to, the batteries are fairly inexpensive to buy as these things go, but if you can get a new one for free, why not? So all in all, I think you're going to be really pleased with this. Everyone I've ever met really likes their Ryobi.